sometimes it does feel like it's like you need a lucky break or something, doesn't it? It's like you can pour yourself into so many things that you love and then also see or recognize that not one or any of them are necessarily being acknowledged or I was going to say picked up, like they don't like seem to fly, so to speak, with others. And so at some point, it's like one does have to sustain oneself in life. And it's like where you seep into other things that almost like suck the life force out of you, in that they're not what you want to do. It's just like a necessity when what you do want to do and what you love is not sustaining you. And they ended up flashing through people I knew and people I didn't know who were doing all types of things, and they were pouring themselves into many, many avenues. And what was interesting is when I was looking outside myself, right, like not necessarily looking at what I was doing, but looking at what they were doing from an objective point of view, it did have me think like, wow, why aren't they just pouring all their energy into one thing? It's almost like it's a shame, because we can sometimes look at it like, it's almost like we can look at it like wasted talent or something, because they're not devoting enough time or energy to one specific thing. And yet, then they brought me back to me, and I was like, oh, well, I mean, I understand that from my perspective, not from an objective point of view, but more of like, well, what I've experienced is you can only do that for so long when it's like, well, you do have to figure out ways to sustain oneself, and you love all those things, and you are doing them really for you, and just the idea and the hope and the wish that others would resonate and love them too, and so then you could financially benefit from it so that you could do it all the time, so it could sustain you in that way. And it was interesting, because then it was like there was quite a few people they showed me where it was interesting in that they were actually really talented in quite a few arenas. And I was like, why aren't they more well known for X, Y, or Z? And I think that's where it comes into like the idea of the lucky break, the right person, the right time. And that is true if you think about it. Like, how many people do you know that are so talented in so many things that you didn't even know about, right? You're like, oh my God, I didn't know you could do that, because that's not where they spend the majority of their time. And not that we can't have, I mean, I think we all have our stuff on the side that we love that is just special for us. So I'm not saying that people can't have that, but it's like, no, but they're so good at that. Like, I wish they were on the world stage for others to enjoy how spectacular they are. And yet, some of the people I've asked them that, and they have tried, right? And they haven't necessarily. It's not so much like they've given up hope. I mean, maybe they have, and they didn't want to share that deep sadness with me, but it was more like they've come to terms with or acceptance that they, like I said, they too have to sustain oneself. And so they're not looking to be the starving artist. And so at some point they're like, okay, well, I do love this. I've put it out there in ways that I know how and to the best of my ability. And so what? Like, if it's not getting picked up, I can't. I mean, I'm not looking to be the starving artist on the street, so it's time to pivot, so to speak. And so I think there's probably a lot of people we know in that scenario that you don't realize that's their scenario, right? Like, if you get to know people and get to know their story, you might be like, oh, wow. So, had you been picked up, had you been discovered, had you been whatever, you would be a famous DJ or singer or artist or this or this or this. And so I think that's where we can, I mean, I know I've struggled with that. It's like where you can either become, it's like angry or bitter or sad, or it's like it can take a downturn where it's like, no, let it be. Like, they're such good examples for me, these people they were showing, in that they didn't have a bad attitude and they still enjoyed those avenues of their form of art whenever they could, right? And whenever the opportunity presented itself, but they were no longer, I was going to say focus there, because it's just not their main focus, because it no longer was optional to be the main focus. They had other priorities and interests that come in that supersede it, only because it wasn't sustaining them. In other words, if their main source of income was able to come from that of which they loved and are so talented at, then they could have kept that as their main and still, grew and expanded and had those other responsibilities, but didn't have to also then find a way to sustain them in an avenue, I was going to say not of their choice. I mean, it is of their choice, but it's maybe not of their top choice, their ideal choice, right? We all end up at some point, if that's the case where you're not getting that, quote, lucky break, it does feel like settling. But again, I'm still not verbalizing it the best, because I don't look at these people as settling. They have very full, happy lives, and they still get to dabble in those talents they have and share them with others when they can, when the opportunity comes up. And maybe that's what makes it more special, honestly. Maybe it does. Maybe that's what makes it more special, or maybe that's what makes it so enjoyable for them. Maybe they're so good at it and it's so delightful to them that had it taken off, maybe it wouldn't be. Maybe it would have sucked the juice out of them. Maybe eventually they would have no longer enjoyed it if that's what they had to do day in and day out. It's like sometimes we think that's what we want to do day in and day out. We think we love it so much, but when you're forced to do such and you really encounter it and experience it and get the logistics and reality of what that actually looks and feels like, you might be like, oh, no. Right? That's not what I meant. That's not what I thought. That's not what I blah, 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 blah. And so, sometimes it is done for our favor and we don't understand it, right? We don't always see it or recognize it because we couldn't. We didn't go down that avenue to know that or discover it. And yet, if you can still keep that positive attitude and look on the bright side of things, like the few people they're showing me really do look at the bright side of things and really are happy and really do lead a beautiful life and really do still incorporate that talent of theirs into their life. It's just that, though. It's incorporated in. It's not the main focus. And it's something that I think people discover about them along the way because it's so not the central focus, which is kind of nice, right? Like, I love to learn those special little things as you get to know people and you're like, oh, wow. Like, I had no idea you were so talented in this and this and this. Like, it's like a surprise, right? It's like such a perk. It's the perk of getting to know people. Okay. Thanks so much for tuning in and listening. You can now purchase an audio journey with me using the link below.